Hey you guys, welcome to book review number 10. It's been a couple weeks since I've done a book review, so I apologize for that. You also see that I no longer look like a hippie degenerate, I guess. I got a haircut. Well, in any case, let's get straight to it. This book review is for When Things Get Dark, A Mongolian Winter's Tale by Matthew Davis. Oh, his name's somewhere on there. Yes, by Matthew Davis. And anyway, what this book is about is it's about the author, Matthew Davis, who signed up for the Peace Corp and is doing a 2-year stint in Mongolia. Look up the town real fast. Tell I'm well prepared for this. In Bolgan, which is sort of in the middle part of Mongolia, about 12 hours west of Ulaanbaatar. Well, anyway, what I enjoyed about this book is I feel like Matt Davis didn't really strain in any way to write it. It felt very his stories felt very natural. They felt like you were in the place. Those are just some broad generalities to start out. I really feel like the impression that he gave of Mongolia is Mongolia is almost a country by default. A country that exists because of its lackness of something there. I guess the Mongolian people are unified as a race, and also in the history of Genghis Khan and all that stuff. But really, after the fall of the great Khanates, Genghis Khan's children or whatever, Mongolia was taken over by China, and really the only reason it became a country again was because China in the 1900s, early 1900s, fell into ruin and strife. And Mongolia was able to, with the help of the Soviet Union, fairly easily able to gain its independence. Yeah, and I guess you can sort of see the parallels between the historical lack of, I don't know. I mean, I would sort of oppose it to a city like Shanghai or this is the Mongolian nation, particularly outside of Ulaanbaatar, to like a very dense sort of like Tokyo or Shanghai or something where both the number of people there and just the economic activity and what goes on is very dense. Mongolia is essentially a wasteland with only a few million people, surrounded by two of the largest countries on Earth. And really what you see is, in that reflection in everyday life, is the really lack of things for people to do. And when it comes to males, what do males do when there's lack of things to do? They tend to get drunk and get in fights. And as Matt Davis stated, how it was sort of like a problem that you could acknowledge, but you couldn't really do anything about because it was just so widespread and prevalent in the society was alcoholism and stuff like that. And actually, that kind of Matt Davis fell into that same hole in his second year in the Peace Corps service. He basically said, like, during the winter times, and he said that's when obviously it's most difficult because you can't go outside. It's very isolating. Kind of live in your gur. He lived in a gur, which is like a tent structure, traditional Mongolian tent structure. It's also called a yurt. Yeah, gur or yurt. He said that during the wintertime is when it really got the darkest. The title of the book is When Things Get Dark. They can be about the winter, or they can also be about, your personal place. But I would say that, changing gears a little bit, he did sort of state how his situation kind of reflected the male Mongolian, average male Mongolians. But it wasn't strictly a narcissistic book about himself. He actually talks quite a bit about what went in this town of about 20,000 people that's completely isolated by one of the most sacred mountains in Mongolia. And just kind of the how in this isolation, outside of the alcoholism and the depravity, people got on in their daily lives. You know, he has this story about the 3 witches who were teachers. He taught English, as you know, that was part of the main part of his Peace Corp volunteer service, and there were other English teachers that taught with him at this kind of like smaller-ish university. You know, when I say university, that's very liberal. It's a small teaching college. But anyway, he talks about how these 3 witches, and one sort of like has a yeoman's work ethic, and another one is in sort of an abusive relationship, and the third one is married to I guess the equivalent of the dean of the university. And even though her situation is stable, she's essentially in kind of a permanent purgatory that she's looking to get out of by having dreams of enrolling in Western universities that she's never going to go to, or, you know, moving to Tokyo with her husband, things like that. I guess that's kind of more on the personal side, but I started with the history. One of just the structural aspects of the book that I really enjoyed was Matt would write a chapter about his own circumstances, and then would reflect that in some historical event. For example, he would take a trip to Karakoram, which is the historical Mongolian capital, and talk about how among broken vodka bottles, which is the most prevalent alcohol in the country, you know, everyone essentially blacks out on, among this, you know, 5-year-old broken vodka bottles, there would be 700-year-old Mongolian pottery in this capital that's essentially derelict at this point. Derelict, yes. I just thought that was very interesting. And that's not the only example, you know. He'll talk about, you know, like this mountain that's close to his hometown, and how everyone in the village would go and put candles on it during the middle of the winter to make it all light up, and then talk about the history of spiritualism in Mongolia, which I thought was very good. Other than that, there's definitely something I'm missing. I could definitely talk a little bit more just about the people in the town. I don't know how much I could go into without getting into like a lot of detail about what the book is about, but it just kind of talks about small town life and the hardships, and I think we can all sort of relate to that. And even if we don't live in a small town, we can kind of empathize with the situation. Yeah, well, in any case, I want to say something more about, to be perfectly honest, I want to say something more about it because I really, really enjoyed it. This is a really good book. It really gets to, I wouldn't say the heart of the Mongolian people, but really paints a accurate portrait without projecting too much, without being strictly bleak, or even though a lot of the country is in a bleak circumstance, strictly bleak or strictly optimistic, just very sort of realistic and naturalistic portrayal of the country. Maybe not to the, you know, he's not Mongolian, so he can't know exactly what it's like, but, you know, being there for 2 years, you can certainly get a very strong impression. Yeah, well, anyway, okay, I'm going to stop talking and just say, let's get this. When Things Get Dark, A Mongolian Winter's Tale by Matthew Davis. Highly recommended. This is a good book. Alright, I'll have some more of these reviews in the hopper, and hopefully a couple other videos down the line, so See you guys later. Recommended. One more time. See ya.